It's going. I'm going.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'll begin with roll call. The time is 4 o'clock. Good afternoon, School Board. Dr. Hernandez is that the time is 4 p.m. on today, April 2nd, 24. I call this board workshop meeting of the Edgewood Independent School District School Board to order. Roll call. Dr. James Hernandez will not be able to join us today. Mr. Joseph Guerra.
Present.
Mr. Frank Espinosa. Mr. Luis not able to join us. Mr. Michael Valdez.
Present.
Mr. Richard Santoyo.
Here.
And I, Martha Garcia, am present. That the record shows that a quorum of the Edgewood Independent School District School Board is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. If you would please join me for the pledge of allegiance, the Texas flag, and also open flag. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Juro lealtad a los Estados Unidos de América y la República cual representa una nación bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Moment of silence, please. Thank you. Do we have any communication from citizens?
Madam President, we do not.
Thank you. Sir, do you have a report?
I do not have a report, ma'am, but I just have a couple items that I want to bring up. Joey, if you can go ahead and bring up the presentation from Mr. Chavez, Mr. Scobie going right after me. Just a couple of quick, board. First of all, thank you for joining us tonight, as well as the members of the senior leadership team, and everybody else that's going to be presenting this evening. I know we have guests that are going to be helping us present tonight. I do want to bring a couple of things to the board to your attention. Next week on the 11th, we do have your board performance planning meeting. That is, we're going to offer two sessions, 8:30 to 10 o'clock in the morning, or 10:30 to 12. Ms. Castillo is going to be sending you those invites, so if you would please let us know which times you're available. That is being extended to you to one. Make sure we follow up on any questions you may have from this meeting, but just a reminder, performance planning meetings are to also touch base on items that you've approved in the past, as well as different student data or data from the business office or different departments that we need to keep up with you as a board. And so a reminder that is going to be next week. You will also have your board update that goes out this week on Friday. That will go out the 5th. It will go out again on the 12th. It will go out again on the 19th. There are 3 board updates you'll get before the regular board meeting. I'll remind you, the regular board meeting is on the 22nd this month. It is on a Monday. So please remember that there is that slight adjustment. This is a pretty busy month for everybody, both the board as well as the senior leadership team. There's a lot going on. This is a testing month also, board. We are generally starting testing season. We have our state tests, we have national tests, and those will go into, Dr. Wasu, into May, right, for AP testing. And so the campuses will be pretty busy. And then, of course, in this week's board update, I do want to bring to your attention, you will be getting from the Office of School Leadership a couple of updates. One on our activities on the 8th. I know there's a lot of hoopla going on around the eclipse and things of that nature. So you will get an update of what's going on that day. I believe there's also something on our website. Ms. Bukulis, I know she sent that out to the SLT team.
Yes, it is already active.
It's already out there. So we'll send it on the board update, and we can go ahead and text it to the board. You send it to Ms. Castillo
Yes.
later in the week, so the board has that link in case they want to look at it. And so those are my quick updates, Madam President. I will, if it's okay with you, I'll turn it off over to my team so they can start their presentation. And the first one up is Mr. Chavez.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board, colleagues, guests. Today is our leadership board presentation for April 2024. Tonight we'll have these individuals working with us to present the information. Dr. Kimberly McIntyre, Assistant Superintendent of School Leadership, Dr. Roberto Basuto, Assistant Superintendent of Academic Services, Dr. Vanessa Silva, Senior Director of Academics, Mr. Travis McElvain, Chief of Schools, and of course, they'll be joining me in today's presentation. Our mission, of course, is first and foremost, as well as our outcome. And our outcome today is what we're going to be talking about in our LSG, talking about graduated all scholars, college career, military grade. Our intended learning outcomes today are several. That's because we have several agenda items up this particular April board meeting. We're going to start off with our April board presentation, our LSG quarterly progress tracker for April, quarter 29. Our district instructional materials, technology allotments, selection committee recommendations. Will come to you in one agenda item and what their recommendations are. And you see here a plethora of publishers, book publishers, that we are going to present to you on an individual basis. All these are purchased with our by instructional material and technology allotment dollars. Hence, need your approval. You can see the list is rather long. We're going to kind of go through that tonight. And we're going to end with our out-of-state travel for fine arts, academy, thespian competition. So with that going, let us begin now with our Lone Star Governance monitoring report for April 2024, for study session 4B. And of course, we always look at the reports based on the Lone Star Governance monitoring calendar 23-24 that was adopted in August of this year. And as you can see, we have 3.1 success initiative and the board quarterly tracker that we're going to cover today. Our independent learning outcomes is going to be goal 3 for CCMR and goal progress measure 3.1, which while it covers Texas Success Initiative, there are several components that make up this particular goal progress measure. You can see our students there in front of a Boeing picture where they were able to go visit recently. Now, GPM 3, rather, goal progress measure 3 is looking at our goal for increasing our raw scores from 43% to 85%. As you can see, our baseline on the left-hand side is at 43. Class of 2022 is predicting for the class of 23. So let me go ahead and remind people, and this is always one of those lagging indicators. We have the class of 22, and that is what comprises our accountability for 2023. So we're always behind the year. Class of 22, their final goal was their final number was 62.1%, and the goal for 2023 in the black was 51%, surpassed that 11 percentage points. Now the next year for 2024, we were based on the class of 2023. You're probably saying they had to release this, but as I said, this is the year before, and we were able to calculate that at 90.2%. Currently, our current class of 2024, as of April 1st, yesterday, we were sitting at 49%. Our goal, of course, here is 68%. We have full confidence that we're going to reach that goal. Let me briefly talk about what those CCMR indicators are. The Texas Success Initiative, which we're going to talk about on the next slide, advanced placement percentages, dual credit course completion, industry-based certifications, level 1 or 2 certifications, an associate's degree. The associate's degree are usually provided through our early college, high school, and our other programs for dual credit that lead towards an associate's degree. On-Ramps, which is a college dual credit course offered by University of Texas in Austin. Individual education plans, those special ed students who graduate per their individual education plan. Advanced graduation plans for those special ed students who receive this particular advanced plan. And finally, of course, military enlistment. As you can see, a number of those are not finalized yet. For example, we don't get advanced placement scores until July. Dual credit, we have classes are currently in session. Industry-based certifications they earn throughout their year, with some of these actually not even to be garnered until after they graduate. Associate's degree, those students are in college right now. Those are going to graduate this year. And of course, all these other components we won't know until graduation time, right? And of course, military enlistment, we have to get a special document from the government stating that that individual is actually enlisted. So a lot of these are in flux, but we're very proud to say that 49% this year, we definitely will meet that 68%, and if not surpass last year, or the class of 2023, of 90.2%. The next section, ladies and gentlemen, is Goal Progress Measure 3.1, which is Texas Success Initiative criteria in both reading and mathematics on any of the assessments. Texas Success Initiative assessment, SAT, ACT, and college prep courses will increase from 15 to 25% by 2027. So as we look at this particular initiative, TSIA, those are the assessments that allow students to enter into college, right? Also, if you score high enough on the STAR test in the course, you're actually able to meet that criteria. Our ACT and SAT, as well as college prep. College prep, we have approximately over 300 kiddos enrolled across the district in the college prep class, which is a year-long class for students who passed STAR but didn't make that college entry level that they need to meet TSA, or the Texas Success Initiative. So we have several students currently. We're at 9%, or rather, let me start off, our baseline was 15. Last year, our goal was 17%, and we met it for class of 2022. Last year, class of 23 is scheduled for 2024 for this year's accountability, and we're at 37%. Our goal is at 19. Currently, our class of 2024 is at 9%, and our goal is 21%. But I remind you is that, for example, the college prep classes need to be completed. All of our ACT, SAT, and TSIA assessments are still, in certain cases, being given. So we feel very confident that we're going to surpass 21%, and hopefully most likely pass 37% from the class of 23. Here is, we're on the superintendent's evaluation, we're at monitor, because we're monitoring these progresses, even though we know students are in class, ready to get this particular assessment. All data is based for goal 3, all data is based on the previous year graduates. ECMR scores for 24 on class of 23 and 25 class of 2024. And TA changed the score for an 82 and 88, so it's a much higher number, but we feel very confident, as you saw, for this year at 90%. So we feel that we're in the A range for that, as well as for all of our schools are also going to be monitored on this individually. Texas Success Initiative, again, those particular pieces, a lot of these will end in May 2024. Refinements, current seniors taking the TSI and prep and assessments are going to be enrolled in classes to get them prepared for that. TSI assessments are given regularly, like monthly, and not like the SAT where we give it all in October and then throughout the year for some individuals who sign up for that on Saturdays. Progress monitoring of seniors in the process of completing HB5, ELAR and math college prep courses. Okay, any questions? We've kind of covered this in the past for this because it's lagging, but any questions on this?
Can you go back to slide, please?
Yes, sir. Is that this one? Yes.
So the 90% for the class of 2023, that
Yes.
was the end of the goal. So
And
the actual class of 2023
and good question, because if you can see here, this, not working, class of 23 was at 90.2%. Right? So we passed that 88% state sales per day. But that's going to be reported in our accountability for 2024. Right? So we're kind of like, it's kind of a lagging piece that we've already been able to do that. Currently, our class that's going to graduate this year, 2024, as of the 1st of April, they're at 49%. We are very confident because of the individuals that we have in all of those programs on the right are going to come to fruition, and we feel very confident that we're going to, be at surpass the 88% for him. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
Can you go back to the next slide?
Yeah, sure.
How can we see a breakdown? Because I know, especially looking like at the 9% right now, how can we see a breakdown of kind of the difference of what the 9% actually resembles according to
Sure, we can provide that information with you. We have this data, but we don't have a final piece, but we can provide you a snapshot of a projection of how many kiddos, for example, are in college prep, out ELAR and math. One thing I want to say about this is that if you look at the very top where it says the percentage of students meeting Texas Success Initiative criteria in both ELA reading and math. So if I'm taking a test in, let's say, SAT, and I meet that criteria in reading, but I don't meet that criteria in math, I have an opportunity to meet that criteria in math in TSIA or in the college prep course if that's appropriate for me. So I need to pass, or our students need to pass both math and ELA reading. If they don't pass both of them, we don't get credit for both, or for that particular indicator. So we're kind of having to balance not only them taking it, but okay, you take math and reading, where are you at with that? So, yes, sir, we can provide that to Dr. Manette, or perhaps in the board update. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. At this time is the board quarterly progress tracker 29, quarter Q29. We haven't seen any movement with this. I do believe once we start our blocking tests and those particular pieces, we also had a couple of board members, I think, attended the neighborhood, Dr. Manette, the neighborhood meeting. Was that, am I correct in that? No. A neighborhood meeting with everybody. So I think we need to kind of look at those pieces, and we'll update those for when we come to the board meeting on the 22nd. Yes.
So, which framework are you going to take?
Which framework? Okay, good question. If we look down here, we can see on the right-hand side the total number of points, right? And here is our current quarter. So the difference here, we have 3 points. So if we're looking to do vision goal 1, vision goals 2, vision goals 3, vision goals 4. This one we met. I'm sorry, accountability 1 we met, accountability 2 we met. Systems and processes, we still have one more indicator. We met advocacy and engagement, and synergy and teamwork. So those particular pieces that have not met under where it says quarter 29, total possible points, wherever you see that there's a difference, those are the areas we need to work on.
Who determines if it's met or not?
We look at it and we meet with President Castilla and the superintendent, and we go, those areas are areas where we need to share with the community. And the other things that, like, is everybody on LS training, some of those questions. What I'll do is I'll put in the update, the actual rubric with the scores, and you can see those. That'll help a lot. Thank you. Okay, at this point, we're going to go through that whole list of publishers. I invite Dr. Trasuto to come up. And here comes and Dr. Silva, yes.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam President, board members, LCT members, and committee members. So what we're gonna do is review, and I know there's a plethora of items to help you as we review this. We need two sheets like Mr. Frank has here, where the sheet, it's like a cheat sheet that lists everything there. It'll tell you if it's a renewal, new, or a proclamation. And then at the very far end, it even tells you which agenda item it is. I know we're gonna go over to a lot of items, but this is pretty much our tier 1 resources that we want to ensure that kids have on day 1.
Good afternoon, Board President Garcia, esteemed board members, Superintendent Hernandez, members of SLP, and colleagues, community members. Again, my name is Teresa Silva, and today I will provide you with a brief overview of Proclamation 2024. And as we approach the end of our adoption cycle process, I'd like to take a brief moment just to acknowledge all of the committee members who gave of their time and talent to this endeavor, and I just want to give appreciation for them. This process mandates the review of adoption of new instructional materials that are tailored to support the implementation of the new standards that have been set forth by the Texas State Board of Education. And as you can see on the slide, the foundation subject areas within the Proclamation 2024 include science for kinder through 12th grade. Social studies includes personal financial literacy and economics. This is a newly introduced high school course. For Proclamation 2024, we also have the enrichment subjects that include career and technology education, or CTE, and this encompasses pathways that include education and training, health science, and STEM, or science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And finally, we have technology applications, and this pertains specifically to the standards that are related to technology literacy. As we have reviewed and vetted the resources, the committee did diligently work together to ensure that the materials that we are bringing forward to you are fully aligned to the grade level standards. And alignment of our global review and adoption process with the Texas Education Agency requirements also provides us assurances that these materials that we are recommending effectively cover the required curriculum and support that helps to support the learning of all of our students. So the District Instructional Materials Committee has completed the review and evaluation process, and we are now ready to present the recommendations for Proclamation 2024 to the school board for approval. So on April 22nd, we are requesting your support with approving the instructional materials that have been recommended for the foundation and enrichment subjects. Your approval of these newly adopted materials will allow for us to move forward as we prepare to support our teachers and our students with the implementation of the new standards in the fall of 2024. And next, I will share with the committee the subject areas and the publishers that we are bringing forward. So let's begin with science. So for science, for our K through 5 resource, and this includes both English and Spanish, we are moving forward with a recommendation from the committee for elementary science HMH into science and Arriba las Ciencias. For middle school, you also see for grades 6 through 8 that we have a recommendation for HMH into science. For our high school courses, the recommendation for your consideration is Davis, Texas Experience. As previously mentioned, we do have our new social studies high school course, personal financial literacy and economics, that has been added to our course catalog for the fall of 2024, and the recommended resource is Ramsey Foundation in Personal Finance. Here on this slide, you can see the recommendations for our CTE materials that address the specific pathways that have been outlined in Proclamation 2024. And you can see noted on this slide the specific courses and the materials that the committee has recommended and will be moving forward April 22nd. And lastly, we'd like to share that EISD does meet the requirements for the K-8 technology applications by integrating digital lessons into the students' learning experiences via learning.com. This approach does allow us to meet the TA guidelines and gives us the flexibility to fulfill the requirements with the implementation of these standards. We are recommending the continued use of learning.com as a platform to deliver these digital lessons. And we also would like to note that this platform is currently used in Edgewood, and it is a platform that both our teachers and our students are familiar with. Now I will turn it over to Dr. Barsuto, who will continue to share some highlights of our Tier 1 materials.
Thank you, Dr. Silva. So the other items for your consideration is one of the new items that's going to be presented is for Great Minds Eureka Math. And this item is under 5L. And as you noted at the last board workshop, we went over this information where we saw that there was a lag in the Mathematics 1 results. And so Christian Padra, who was our math coordinator expert, gathered and garnered some teacher support and looked at various materials and chose on Eureka Math for a pilot study to see if we can move the academic needle relative to mathematics in grade 1. It was grounded on best practices according to our TEA guidelines under RBs, which we call Math Research-Based Instructional Strategies. This material met all these requirements as it is pushed by the state. Here is the data that we were trying to close the gaps. And as a reminder, we're always trying to close the gaps in reaching the diamond. That is where the expectation of kids are supposed to grow from the beginning of the year to the middle of the year. So this is based off of the middle of year data on NWE math testing. We noticed first grade was the gap. So then we implemented this pilot using these materials, and these were the results. You'll notice across the board in unit 8, 9, 10, we had great gains. Remember, a lot of these standards are being introduced to students for the very first time in first grade. Hence why you see the low pre-assessment. Kids have never been exposed to these standards. However, as they went through the program, teachers were learning how to use the materials correctly and implementing in the classroom in engaging ways. We did notice the results. The results speak for themselves, and teachers were very excited. We also noted the same thing in bilingual, as this program is offered both in English and Spanish as a side-by-side. And you'll notice the results are there as well. To include that we got such good momentum using this product that many of our teachers were sending out information saying, hey, can we continue this pilot? We really like this material, we're seeing the results. Here's one of our, by the way, TIA 1 award-winning teachers, and that is their statement around the use of Eureka Math. Keep in mind, she's one of our best and brightest, and she's been here with us for over 30 years. And I'll let you kind of read that testimony from one of our teachers over at Loma Park. Based on the achievement data that I shared, plus the positive teacher feedback, we are recommending the implementation of K2 for next year. So this was a pilot for first grade, now we're looking to really get our students grounded in good foundational mathematics using this product and K through second. Now, in addition to this, I'm going to run through the rest of our Tier 1 materials. Now, board members, these are Tier 1 materials. Just as a reminder, these are the materials that we discussed at last board workshop where we said at our board performance planning committee, these are the materials that we put in front of kids the very first time we teach, the first teach. So these are the materials we want to make sure that they have day one, hence why we're reading for your approval, so that we have time to turn it around, order them, bring them in, and make sure that they're in all classrooms day one. Here are the reading language arts materials. The way it's set up, and we also have the sheet here as well. You'll see the publisher, the title, the grade levels, and then the status. It'll tell you if it's a renewal. In other words, it's a recurring item. We brought it to you before, this is just a renewal. And then it tells you on the far right, tier 1. So these are all tier 1 materials. Next month, we will bring to you the supplemental materials for your review. So these are all tier 1 materials. These are the materials that kids will get for mathematics, language arts, science, and social studies. Here's mathematics with a note of Eureka Math, which is just presented to you as a new purchase. We will continue to use STEM scopes for 3rd through 8th grade and Algebra 1, College Board for the honors, and then McGraw-Hill for the high school piece in mathematics. Again, they're all renewals. Social studies, the renewal for K-5 and then renewal for secondary, which is middle school and high school. And last but not least, now this one is not a tier 1 material. This is a loan item that is a separate item. This is what I would call a supplemental. We had the quote ready, so we wanted to bring it forward to you for your consideration. And this is our Ingenuity for our credit recovery program. This is the program that we use at the high school exclusively, so when kids are in danger of missing credit, this is the program that we're able to take for them so that they can recover their credits. Once they fail in the previous or because of attendance, this is what we do to gain them back with their parents. And this is a recurring item that we bring back every year. And that's all I have. Are there any questions?
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Trustees, SLT, and guests. School leadership is coming to you to seek approval for this month's board meeting for our 9 students at Fine Arts Academy to participate in the International Thespian Festival in Bloomington, Indiana in June. Back in November, we had 31 students that participated in state, and we have 9 that are advancing to the international competition. While there, students will be able to participate in courses, they can participate or try out for scholarships, and they'll be able to do some networking with some of the different universities that will be present. So we'll be seeking your approval for this. Are there any questions? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
So how are the students going to be funded?
The school has already secured travel or funding for the students, and so they will not need to purchase any airfare or food or anything like that. It's already paid for. For all 9, yes.
And then I did have some questions about the curriculum,
Which one? Is it this slide?
just for all of them in general. So for the Eureka, it was mentioned that a pilot instruction, but it's an open educational resource. So that means like there's no like paying for the material if it's open education.
So it's open-ended, open resource, and Dr. Silva can give you a better answer than I can, because she knows this, she's an expert at this area. The question is about the open resource and what TA makes available to us, that's correct.
I know in college we use that term also. So I was wondering.
Thank you. There are different ways in which the state of Texas, through the pilot program, did fund Eureka Bound. And so what we're looking for is to be able to learn more about being able to recover some of the funding that is available for participating in the Open Educational Resource Program. And so we're working together with the vendor who will send us a link, and then we can bring that information back to you. But that was something also that you would have seen in the TEAC certification survey. The TA is asking us, would you like more information on how to, fund these resources? And the answer is yes, so that we would be able to take that into consideration. But thank you for the question, and we certainly do want to be able to support our teachers with the resources that they need, and then take advantage of whatever funding sources TA does make available to us to recuperate some of that funding.
Thank you. So then, I also have a question, because I know like in our 1882s, they're allowed to, even if we do have like, let's say we have Eureka Math, they also have like the option to use their own curriculum and whatever materials they would like, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And then, so So my question, I also have another question on the Eureka map. I know we had positive testimony, but do we also have like any testimony from like teachers that said like maybe this didn't work for them or work in their classroom?
Yes, so actually in a survey that we collected at the beginning of the pilot, at the end of the first unit, I should say, we did have some teachers who indicated some dissatisfaction with the assessment platform, which is Eduphoria. That's our current platform that we use in Edgewood. So there was a bit of a kink there. We worked that out. And so it wasn't necessarily related to Eureka Map, but on the survey data, they did reflect that we needed to do some work around Eduphoria, which we helped to support. So we are going to be surveying our teachers again, so that we can harvest some more data from them and continue to listen to our teachers out in the field.
They can provide the results of that particular survey in a board update. So
And that was shared at the last board performance.
Thank you. And then another question is, so for like the tier 1 instruction, for like the elementary students, for elementary students, would their like tier 1 instruction actually be like physical books that they can have? And then like what do we see like in the high school or middle school, like digital material?
Yes, that's currently what we're working on for the new adoption and hearing back from our teachers in terms of what their recommendations are. So for instance, in high school, our teachers very much say like the digital version of the textbook is what we need because we utilize our laptops for the most part. And then when it comes to elementary, our teachers loud and clear say we really would need the printed version of the book in addition to the digital. So those are the things that we're currently working out, and we'll bring back to you April 22nd with the final quotes.
Thank you. Those are all my questions right now, but especially in the board workshop, maybe we can have like maybe with Dr. Hernandez a more discussion on Eureka Math because I really want to understand it more. Thank you.
I just wanted to make a comment, thank you for sharing what Ms. Gabriela Hurst did, because this is very good for us to hear. And I want to thank you for continuing to provide the financial literacy, because it makes a big difference in the kids. I remember when my son was part of a budget on how he was going to live monthly, and that has impacted him up to today. And I think he was like in 7th grade when he did it, and it was through DFN, it wasn't through the district. So thank you for bringing that there. That's important for us.
Madam President.
Thank you.
Let me get a little bit of clarification. Mr. Lopez, you asked a question about Eureka Math, is that what I heard?
Yes.
What was it your question was?
I just want to learn more about it. But right now, like, semester is learning about it right here in the board workshop. I just want more conversation.
Is there any area specifically other than the actual content material or anything other than that? Just so I make sure that we get you the information you need.
Not at the moment, but I think I have more questions.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you, Dr. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So I think at this time we will transition over to business and operations.
So good evening, Madam President, board members, community, peers, everyone that's present with us tonight. This evening, we're going to present mainly board agenda items. We will go briefly over a board update. This is the business operations team that you see pictured here. This evening, you're going to hear from Ms. Trevino, Ms. McCullis, and myself. As I mentioned, we're just going to review some of the agenda items that you will be seeing. Some of them are recurring. They're going to be coming up for approval and or review at the next board meeting. We will review budget calendar before we leave this evening and go over some of the work that's happened in the last couple of months. As always, and I want to remind all of us, there's been a lot of work that is happening behind the scenes to bring this budget. This year is substantially different than we've had in prior years, so everything continues to get anchored around the goals and priorities of the district. I want to make sure that we keep reminding ourselves that the work is the work, and regardless of what challenges we have with finances, this is what we anchor to. We also anchor to systems of great schools. You just heard the LSG goals. Everything that we continue to work towards is reflected or all the work is reflective of that framework. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to Ms. Mapula so she can get us started. We're going to go a little out of order, board, but Ms. Mapula is going to start us off. All of the agenda items are listed on each slide for your reference.
Thank you. So the agenda item we're reading today is the school health advisory bylaws. You should have received those in your board update last week, so you could review them. What we are doing now is we have reached out to our counterparts at Northeast and SISD and reviewed their bylaws that they had. So that's where we're getting our information from. So the bylaws are there for you all. We are requesting that you approve these bylaws so we can now use those documents. Any questions?
So what would be the purpose of approving the bylaws, like, especially after there's been several SHAC meetings before?
Right, since we haven't had bylaws forever, so now we need to bring bylaws into the system. So they were never done in the past, because that wasn't a requirement back when SHAC originally started. I remember sitting on SHAC meetings when Dr. Zimmerman was here, and there was never bylaws at that time. So we're now making sure that we're keeping up with what everybody else is doing. Any other questions?
Ms. Oda,
Yes, ma'am.
I remember when I was on the chat, even before I was on the board, there was only a limit of things that you could do. That's why the CHW, the promotoras, we stopped going because we couldn't make any changes. I mean,
Right.
and it had to be done based on what the state told us.
Correct.
So for us that are change agents and want to really focus on public health here in Edgewood, it was difficult for us to work there. Is it still like that?
It is still the same. We still have to go by what is given to us by the state. So for instance, human sexuality courses, that's something that they give us. We get the curriculum, but we have to approve. We, as the SHAC board, would approve it. Then ultimately, it would go to the Edgewood board to make the final approval. The SHAC only makes suggestions based on what we're getting back from the state.
So it's in this, there's a limit to what you can do. It comes from the state, you.
Right,
SHAC
TEA, the
approve it.
state, correct. Whether it's Metro Health that's having us do something, or it's coming down from TEA, so PE regulations or child nutrition regulations, that's not something we can
Yeah, change.
change, correct?
Okay, thank you.
But it is also like an opportunity for like our community to learn what's going on, right? Because I see that there's like committees, right? So I guess-
There are, so now that we have bylaws, we'll be able to start having those committees.
So I guess that's like if there is someone from the community and they do want to learn more or try to provide help, that they can provide it to the community.
That's correct. Next, we have
Agenda item S, board, it is a request for extension on RFP 22001 for lawn maintenance. If you recall, this was approved initially April 19th, 2022. As we reduced staff in that area, we contracted services to use on an as-needed basis, and that has worked fairly well for the district, because we can call when we have a need as opposed to having staff that we frankly couldn't fill. So this is going to be extension number 2. This will, if approved by the board, will extend this for the 3rd year with the services, Home Department is the vendor. Yes, sir.
For the vendor for the lawn maintenance service, how are we actively, how do we usually work with it? How are we actively grading, like, the quality that we're doing, or, because I heard you mention that it's on an as-needed basis. What does that really mean? Like, because I guess if they all have a schedule, but how do we know, like, if it's actually doing?
we get phone calls, but I'm gonna let Mr. Williams.
So if I understood your, good afternoon, ma'am. If I understood your question, you're asking how do we know when they done the work?
How do we really evaluate them to know that, I guess, extend our RFP?
The only way I can answer that, Mr. Rollins, is anytime we need their services, we call them, and then we go out and see if they done a quality job or not. It's like a digital. And so we ask them to cut a lawn and we cut it, and see if they cut the lawn, maybe tall grass, shorter grass. We walk the edge up and go off the sidewalk. I mean, that's basically it. We're not asking them to like put in flower shrubs in. I don't know if that's what you're asking, but I'm trying to make sure I answer your question.
For their service, like when we do call them, like what is the turnaround time for them? Like they're also like their own business and they have to be, I guess what I'm saying is they also have like their own schedules to plan.
We haven't had an issue with calling them and them not being responsive like within a day or two. And that's pretty good for us to get someone out there.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's only when we have a need, right? There's only, I mean, most of the time they're able to take care of themselves unless there's like, a rush rain and the things just boom. And then they have too much work to do. We just call them just to assist at that time.
That's a good example. Anytime that we get behind on our work, whether it's because of lack of people in order to do the work, because of understaffed at poor time, or because of weather issues like the one that you just described, we get behind. Or it may be a situation where coming up, like we have a cycle within the district of, even when we fully staffed, we have a cycle where, schedule, should I say, of when campuses are, and district, other district buildings are mobile. However, there are some times when, for whatever reason, we need to break that cycle. Let's just say we're having a special event at, say at school, and the media may be coming out, we want to make it really nice. Well, you just got cut last week, you're not gonna get cut for another week, but the media's coming out, we have a nice event, we want it to look nice, so now we just broke the schedule. If we can't get to it, we'll call Brad Moore.
So right now, we do have a staff that works with the school district, with our employees that are, I guess, mowing the grass.
Yes, sir, we've always had that. Think of this as 911. You have something going, well, maybe not 911. You have your people that work in the district. But for whatever reason, you have an emergency. That's what 911 is. You have an emergency, you need some more help. For whatever reason, your guys can't do it, your ladies. So you dial 911, Barry Moore, come in and they provide the service.
Agenda item T, it's similar, we're asking for an extension of RFP 23011. This is for student athletic insurance. The district provides insurance in case of injury to our students while they're performing and or competing in behalf of the district. This is the first extension we requested. This would put us at our second year with this particular vendor. And the vendor, correct, I have before this.
We had no problem with that.
No, and actually, I'll check the claims, but I don't believe we have to. Yes, and that's always a good sign. It's always a good sign. But I will check with our resident. Items U and V. Item U is the monthly tax collection reports. I'm going to ask for a little bit of grace. It is the second of the month. We have not received the collection report from the Bureau of Appraisal yet. So I will put it into the board update as soon as we get that, and it'll definitely be ready by the board planning meeting. I should have an opportunity to get that in front of the board at least a couple of times. Three? Okay. So at least 3 times before this comes up for action, but it is a recurring item, and it is just informational, non-voting item. Yes, sir.
It's $3,500 more in the kitty right now, so.
Thank you, sir. We thank you for your contribution. Item B is monthly financial statement. Again, we're just wrapping up. The reconciliation should be done in about a week, so the monthly financial statements will be coming to you at least 2 to 3 times before the board meeting. Again, very informational. We want to be as transparent as possible, so we'll get that posted in the next couple of weeks. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Trevino. Yes,
Just it's the brokerage store for the athletics.
I'm sorry?
The athletic
brokerage
insurance,
store.
the brokerage store.
Brokerage store.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam President, board members, community members. So the items I have that we're asking for your approval are the second part of the contracts for employees. Personnel contracts will be going to you. We'll do the same process as we did last time, is we'll be going to closed session. You review the list, and then you come out of closed session with your decisions. Item X is, again, this is an item that we'll be discussing in closed session. Any individuals who broke contract and did not find good cause, these are individuals, the information that I'll be bringing forward and asking for your approval for not finding good cause. If that is the recommendation, then Dr. Hernandez will give us the authorization to go ahead and submit to ASPEC to submit for contract abandonment of these employees. The next items are your monthly reports that you get on a monthly basis. This is monthly auxiliary and paraprofessional. And then item C, which is our last item, is our monthly professional employment report that you get. Those are recurring items on a monthly basis. Are there any questions for my items?
Last one, I should have slipped this slide. So, for just a quick reminder, this is our budget timeline. We are now April 2nd, and you'll notice that it says study session number 2. Part of what Dr. Basuto and Dr. Silva, I think I need to say this Silva, part of what they presented is really critical to what goes into the budget. Those are some of the things that you're going to see as we come in. They're going to be funded through IMA. Some of these may have to land on local funds. So this is all part of the process. Normally, they would have brought this, Mr. Chavez, in May or June. Am I correct in saying that? So we've accelerated all of our timelines to give the board as much information as possible ahead of time before we bring the complete budget. So we still have a lot of work left to do. Campuses have gotten their allocations. Departments have gotten allocations, and we've asked, mentioned to the board that there be some deep looks. Part of the conversations with Dr. Basuto and Dr. Silva have been, is a material, the return on investment, critical consumers, you've heard those terms a lot. That's what landed on what you saw this evening for Tier 1 instruction. They've done a lot of work for that in bringing those documents for you. Some are part of the adoption, but there is a lot of investment of time that's gone into looking at those materials to bring as part of the budget process. So that was part of the conversation tonight, and we'll continue the conversation as we move through. Mr. Garrett, you have questions here?
Materials a lot.
Yes, sir.
What do you think? What do you think? Or do you think whispers about reducing the
That's not one that I've heard, that is approved every biennium. That's not one that I've seen or heard that's on the table. We've not gotten any increases either, but that's not one that I've heard that is slated for.
I didn't hear the question.
Oh,
Sorry.
I'm sorry, yeah. The question is if we have any fear of losing basically the IMA funding. Is there any, do you want to repeat your question, sir?
Has there been any whispers or word about touching the IMA or reducing it? That's what my question was.
Okay.
We should have the new allotment by July. It's so, no, sir. Good question, though. Seems like everything's getting touched. So with that, any questions? We still have, just to be clear, we still need to bring compensation. And we will bring a plan, whether there are recommendations for increases or not, compensation plan will come back to the board prior to board adoption or budget adoption in June. So with that, sir?
Board, I'll add one more thing to that. We will bring that to you as early and I have to use it to say it this way, as early and as late as possible. And here's why I'm saying late. A lot of my conversations are with my colleagues that are sitting in my chair in other districts. And so much like any other person competing for talent, we're all talking about compensation where we think we are, but we all take budgets to boards different times. Most of us we're a July 1st budget, which means that we're asking boards to adopt that budget for July 1st. There are some districts that are September 1st budget. So I'm trying to get a better gauge of what we're going to bring to you. I've said it already before in multiple meetings. We are having discussions about compensation, but they're not in a favorable place right now. That's across the region right now. We are all getting the same amount of money for basic allotment. You already heard me do multiple presentations on the lack of funding on safety and security, special ed. There's a huge gap in the amounts that we're not getting. And so we will bring that to you as early as we can so you can make an informed decision. But as I mentioned before, this is just the first year of at least 2 more bienniums. And 2 bienniums equals up to at least 4 years before we anticipate any help. So that's what we're focusing most of our energy in terms of making sure that we bring what we need to the staff and to the kids in the schools.
Are there any other questions? Or that concludes my presentation. Thank you all.
Madam President, that brings us to the conclusion of both presentations and all presentations. These will go in the board update on Friday. You'll get this same presentation. You'll get talking points like you normally do. And then, of course, if you have any questions, please submit those through our regular channels. That would be Ms. Castillo, and we can get you an answer. Remember, one of you asks a question, you all get the same answer, and we put it in the board update. And so, with that said, I will turn it over back to our board president.
The time is now 4:55. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If no discussion, all those in favor say aye, raise your hand.